As a candidate for Lieutenant Governor, what are your top 3 priorities to increase tourism and its impact on Louisiana?
Well, Tim, and ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for being here today. I'll answer that question by paraphrasing a famous saying in the real estate industry. I think the top 3 priorities are funding, funding, and funding. And what we need to look at, we have a new issue with funding, because when the new legislature and the new governor come in, they're going to put everything on the table. So first thing we need to do is protect and preserve that statutory dedication, that 300ths of a penny that's dedicated to marketing. We obviously have to go further than that and protect and stop and reverse the interagency transfers and the pass-throughs, so that we can spend more money promoting tourism in the state of Louisiana. Recently, Florida increased their budget by more than our present budget. One of the things that I think we need to look at is creating a special events or major events fund that's generated from tourism dollars, so that we can compete in attracting those major and special events and spread the tourism dollar throughout the entire state of Louisiana. I want to work with you as your next Lieutenant Governor as a partner. Work with the local Convention and Visitors Bureau, tourist commissions, chambers of commerce, and local governments to make sure that we spread that tourism dollar to every community in the state. Every community has a unique story to tell, and we need to tell the Louisiana experience. The other thing I think we need to look at is we need to look at making sure that I'm a former assistant DA and prosecutor, the only candidate in this race with that background. We need to look at crime and its effect on tourism in the state of Louisiana. New Orleans is not the end-all be-all. We need to spread that tourism dollar throughout the entire state, but it is a magnet that brings people to the state of Louisiana. And ladies and gentlemen, if we don't get crime under control in New Orleans, and particularly in the French Quarter, we're going to kill that goose that laid that golden egg. We're going to do this by working with our state and local law enforcement officials, because if people aren't safe, they're not going to come visit, they're not going to invest in our communities. And we need to work with the governor and legislators to tell them what Tim just said about the 38-to-1 return. The Lieutenant Governor's office is one of the few state offices and agencies that's a net producer of revenue. It produces much more revenue than it costs to operate.
Thank you, and thank y'all for this great, the last 3 days have been great. First is funding, of course. And going with funding is to restore all the cuts, but more importantly, our historical sites, our parks and museums, because of the cuts over the years, are not in the best shape. And when people leave Louisiana, they need to encourage people to come back. And that's not happening all the time. You know, when they leave the state parks and they don't have a good experience, they're not sending their family and friends back. We've got to go to each area of the state, meet with the local elected officials, with the passionate people in this room, and their local representatives and senators. The return on investment is there. If we can't double the tourism budget, I'm a failure. We've got to do it from the local level. By the time you get to Baton Rouge, there's too much swapping and back and forth. But if we get each area of this state as a team, identify all the needs, and bring the state elected officials into that room, and make them understand the return on investment to that community, and then go to Baton Rouge as a team, we can get that funding to restore all of our great parks, historical sites, museums into tip-top shape.
First of all, let me thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. And believe me, I did tell the energy a few choice words. So while we may be in the dark, they are trying to find the light now to keep the lights on. But let me just say this. When you have looked at the cuts that have been made in tourism in this state, shame on this state. You go out and generate millions upon millions of dollars. You look for those dollars to be put back to enhance and let people know how great the tourism industry is. We need to also understand, when we talk about tourism, we have to talk about the whole state. From the Main Street programs to small towns and villages. And we must work together to make sure that people know about all of the different things that's offered in parishes and cities and towns across Louisiana. So therefore, we are looking at reaching out more through media than ever before with the dollars that tourism has generated, so people can understand and see more than what's happening in the big cities. They see what's happening overall. Selling the state. I already sell Baton Rouge. But will not only sell it in the United States, but internationally as well, because our culture is very valuable. And then at the same time, looking at public-private partnerships. So we can take parks that have been closed, some golf courses that have been closed, and begin to say, let's form this partnership to move us forward. Together, we must take care of the people who are making money for Louisiana, and that's the tourism industry. Thank you.
First, let me say that I'm from Opelousas. Opelousas is off the beaten track, and it has been left out very often of the tourism priorities for Louisiana. I understand what it feels like to be left out. So, as Lieutenant Governor, I would ensure that no village, no little tiny part of Louisiana would be left out of the marketing of Louisiana. My three top priorities. I just left the Louisiana Senate, and as you know, things have been difficult for us for the last few years financially. We have to, I agree with everyone else here, we must restore the cuts. We must make sure that our destinations are protected. So money, that first priority. The second is to continue the marketing. We have done a fine job during these last few years. Lieutenant Governor Darb has been great at it. I want to continue his work and even push it a little farther. I want to market more to millennials because they have money and they are ready to travel. That marketing will be very aggressive. The third thing that I want to do is to inject even more passion into Louisiana. I'm a native Louisianan. Louisiana is fun. Our food is fun. Our dance is fun. Our destinations are fun. The hills of North Louisiana, the pine forest, the Atchafalaya Basin, and of course our big cities. All of those I have a great passion for. And in the marketing of Louisiana, you will see that passion come through.
Again, on funding, that's the major issue, and that'll help us do other things. I've been to every state park in the state of Louisiana. I've visited every parish. The budgets for our museums and our state parks have been cut. We need to make sure that they're properly funded, both the museums and the state parks, and that they're properly staffed. Those are assets that we have that we're going to pass on to future generations. That brings tourism to the state of Louisiana. Those parks are economic engines for the communities they're located in. When people visit those parks, they buy gas, groceries, and food. And we need to preserve those assets and make sure the legislature and the governor understand the importance of properly staffing and funding our state parks and museums.
Mr. Nunn, yes, sir.
I'll touch on what Mayor Holden said. The private-public partnership is a must. And we've got to listen to the people from those communities. A great example is the state librarian for years has wanted to put a coffee shop in the state library. State law doesn't allow that to happen. We've got to work with our legislators to make sure where the public-private partnership works, that we do that to bring extra revenue into the system. Same thing at the state parks, same thing in a lot of the welcome centers, where I've heard great opportunities from y'all about how to put that together and make it work.
Mr. Holden.
We must come back to a good sense policy. Why aren't you taking care of the agency that's bringing in so much money into Louisiana that you choose to raid the coffers to take care of other people? Direct that money to tourism because they've earned it, they've made the state greater, and they help our economy by people buying and visiting different places in Louisiana. Stop the raid immediately. Respect the people who are out there working hard every day, and give Louisiana and tourism its just due.
Mr. Gilbert, 30 seconds. I have a background in television production and video production. I've had some success with that. Yesterday morning, after breakfast, we saw a fantastic set of videos. I want to take that to the next level. Jay Darden has done a great job. He leaves very great shoes to fill. I'm 5'9". I have a size 13 foot. I have big feet and I can fill those shoes.
Over the last 5 years, the amount of funding for the Office of Tourism allocated to other cultural, recreation, and tourism agencies, these interagency transfers, has risen to over $4.8 million. What solutions do you support to reduce this amount of interagency transfer? Mr. Gilbert?
We all know the situation in Baton Rouge. Funds have been set aside for various uses, and those funds have been taken to put into the general fund to keep operating. This year, this calendar year, we operated with a $1.6 billion deficit. The first thing that we must do is and every candidate for governor has agreed to do this, to call a special session. We will go back into session, and we've got to take the money out of the lock boxes. We've pigeonholed the uses of a lot of money. We've got to start and budget just like you do at your house. Zero budgeting every year. Set our priorities for that year. And of course, one of the priorities has to be the selling of Louisiana. No other industry is as clean, no other industry is as much fun. So we have to protect that. So that is what we must do. We have to go back, release some of that money, and do zero budgeting every year. We have to find some additional revenue streams, and we think that we can do that also.
Mr. Young, more than $4.8 million in interagency transfers. What's the solution?
Well, the solution is to stop that and reverse that, and the way we do that, and look, Jay Darden has done a great job, the staff's done a great job. He was between a rock and a hard place with all the cuts. And how do you say we just spent $20 million on the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum, and now we can't open it because we don't have the money to operate it? So he was between a rock and a hard place. We need to educate, we need to lobby the legislature and the new government and say, look, as we know, you get a 38-to-1 return. If you take that $4.8 million and you multiply it and put it into marketing tourism and increasing the tourism dollars instead of interagency transfers, you'll create over $160 million. You add that to the $836 million, you have over $1 billion that the Lieutenant Governor's office has generated. This is not the best use of funds. These are important. They need to come from the general fund. We need to lobby the legislators in those districts to get them as allies to make sure that we get the appropriate funding for these necessary things. But it should not come out of the marketing money. We should put an end to the interagency transfers. We should reverse that trend and make sure we spread that message, because we're really hurting ourselves. We're capable of generating more money. As I said, the Lieutenant Governor's office, we have to remember, and when I say this as I'm traveling around the state, people's eyes open, their ears perked up, is actually a net producer of revenue. And that's the thing we have to get across to the legislature and the governor. This is not the best use of our money. We can get a better return by making sure that we spend it on marketing and tourism.
Mr. Nungesser.
You know, Jay's done a great job in putting out the fires and plugging the holes. And the return on investment is there. If we can't sell that to Baton Rouge, but the way we have to do it, I learned long ago when my father was Chief of Staff to Governor Treen, the battles weren't won in Baton Rouge. We've got to go to the local level. We have 7 media markets in the state, but we have to get a team together in each area, local elected officials, and bring those legislators in and make them understand this is unacceptable. We need to fund tourism fully for the return on investment we get in this state. And I think we can end it by doing that. And one last thing we can do is have a lieutenant governor that steps up to the mic every time and gives the governor credit. We need the governor on our side. We need him to get credit for tourism and support it the way it ought to be supported, and not continue to cut the lieutenant governor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hope.
You don't start at the end of this process to talk about solutions. You have to start at the beginning. The election's coming up in the fall. also have state senators and state representatives. You should make yourself an ambassador for the greatest industry we have in Louisiana, and start sending people out to those forums and ask the question right to them. What are you going to do about tourism? And I would like an answer. I don't want you to beat around the bush, because you are hurting and hampering the progress of our towns and villages and our cities. Get them on the record, so when they try to weasel their way out of their position, when they're called into the governor's office, and when you see their vote, you can come back to them and say, when you came to my town, you made a promise that you were going to uphold and fight for the tourism industry. This may be your first year in office, but let me tell you what, we have a record that we're going to hold your feet to the fire. If you do not keep your promise that you made to support tourism, we'll do everything in our power to let everybody in every place across this great state to know that you are a person, but a person without words, and somebody you can depend on.
The tourism industry, including Lieutenant Governor Jay Darden, has been consistent in its request to the legislature to eliminate pass-throughs in the Office of Tourism's budget. Although these pass-throughs fund important events, our request is that these events be fully funded through the general budget. Since some of your areas have benefited from these funds, what is your position on pass-throughs, and what is your plan to address the issue? Mr. Hoagland.
You have to basically take each pass-through on its face and the purpose, because sometimes those pass-throughs go back to helping to generate business and dollars for tourism. For example, the Bayou Country Superfest. When I tell you Lieutenant Darden has been a great partner, because we took a weekend, Memorial Day weekend, there's virtually no business in Baton Rouge, and selling out hotels for miles around. And we're bringing more money back. They're getting a greater return on their investment. So take a look at one at a time. Take a look at those that have no return value, and begin not to fund those anymore. Delete those projects, and then look at other projects that you may be able to do transfers, that the direct beneficiary is the tourism agencies and those small cities again. And I can't say enough, if we can't take care of the small cities and villages, what a shame it would be to go into those small towns and you can't find a grocery store or a service station open. But in those small towns are secrets that need to be known, because you find some things about a town and the people and how they are surviving on virtually little or no money whatsoever, but their pride has never been dampened because of a transfer. They find ways to work harder to make their points known to the governor and to the lieutenant governor, that we're just not here to be a town or a city. We're here to be an integral part of the state of Louisiana, and we're not just here to occupy a space. Thank you.
Mr. Gilroy, the idea of pass-throughs in the budget, your thoughts?
Actually, the idea of pass-throughs is simply a part of budgeting. This is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. This is common sense. It's making government work, nothing more than that. It's just like making your car work. If you're going to make your car work, you choose a mechanic who has three things. He has training, he has experience, and he has passion. I have the training, ex-law professor at Rutgers, graduate of New York Theological Seminary. Experience, 45 years. 45 years in law and government across the country. in the federal government in at least 5 states, from Washington, D.C. to Seattle, Washington. And I have a passion for Louisiana. If you take those 3 things together, I understand how to manage government, how to make government work. Pass-throughs are simply one part of the budgeting process. And it should be prioritized. As you know my feeling about zero budgeting every year. Every year, start with a clean sheet and prioritize all of your spending. That's it. That's what I would do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Young?
Yes. It goes back to preserving and protecting the statutory dedication, the 300s, the penny that was meant for marketing. Pass-throughs need to be stopped. They need to be eliminated. Not the events themselves. The events themselves, as Mayor Kip Holden said, are worthwhile. But that's why we need to lobby the legislature, make sure that those worthwhile events are paid for out of the general fund, or some of these should probably be paid or financed through capital outlay. Some of these are capital outlay expenses. But again, the way we do that is we work with the legislature and the governor from the bottom up. We work from the local level up with our local chambers of commerce, our local tourist commissions, working with the CBBs, everybody working together as a team with the lieutenant governor taking lead, but working as a team in a partnership to make sure that we get that point across that this was meant for marketing and for tourism, and the pass-throughs need to stop. It's going to be hard because once, I tell my staff this, if we're going to start a new program, let's make sure we can sustain it, because once you start something, it's even harder to reverse it. But we need to take those steps, and we need to get that point across, because we're leaving money on the table, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that 38-to-1 return. I'm not saying we don't fund these programs, but I'm saying we fund them through a different mechanism, through the general fund and capital outlay, not through the tourism marketing money from the statutory dedication. And that's what we need to do, but we need to do that as a team, working together across the state to lobby our legislature and our new governor.
Mr. Nunn, yes, sir.
First off, let me say that none of these projects are in Blackman's Parish. We've got to have this special fund set up for special events. And we've got to do it where it benefits every corner of the state. I know it breaks my heart to see a chunk of money go into sometimes, in many cases, a private person to benefit an event. And we're closing state parks and museums around the state. It breaks my heart. But we've got to have every area of the state benefit from that special fund and look for events in those areas of the state where they can benefit, so we can get their legislators to support the special fund to fund these events, and not just quit coming up in many cases the larger metropolitan areas to fund these events sometimes that don't return the best bang for their buck. We need to have a team effort in making those decisions and not always make it political. Thank you.
The film and television production tax credits have generated a huge volume of interest in the state of Louisiana, not to mention the direct and indirect spending. What is your position on these tax credits, and how would you support changing and/or preserving them?
I think it's absolutely a great benefit to Louisiana. And you know, it's like everything, and if you're from the New Orleans area, you've seen on TV the people that have misspent them. Some people are going to end up going to jail. And unfortunately, that was used as a mechanism to change it. It needs to be make sure we get the return on investment. And I'm not sure all the studies that were done really showed the trickle-down effect of everything, and every mom and pop business is benefited. Sometimes you pay a consultant to do a report, and they give you a report back to get paid, and you don't get all the details in there. I don't think we did a good job there. It absolutely needs to stay. The public needs to understand the benefit. It's got to be tweaked. We're going to have to fix it. But let me tell you how we fix that, and I know we're staying on target. If we had every dollar in tax dollars we gave out to a business, a movie, or a company, or a nonprofit, if they had to get a CPA audited report every year, given back to the state, made public, everybody in this room would have a comfort level that our tax dollars are being spent wisely. But when someone makes a mistake with state money, the politicians don't want to say anything, and surely the people that misspend it aren't going to say anything. So we both lose out. We've got to have accountability for every dollar of our tax dollars is spent, whether it's a movie or special event or anything with our tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holden, film and television production tax credits.
Basically, the first thing I would do is close the loopholes. The auditors have pointed out how people are using scam numbers to inflate their budgets and therefore take more money. That's the first thing. You can't kill the whole project. Last weekend, I'm up in East Louisiana looking at Magnificent Seven being shot again. In 2 service stations in those communities, in the span of 1 month, they have spent $2 million at 2 local service stations in a town that does not have. I wish I could restart my time. But the Magnificent Seven, $2 million in local service stations. You've got agencies now that are based in New Orleans that are coming here and hiring people and training them for various roles in the movie industry. And therefore, it's not unusual to see a single mom, based upon these credits, now holding a job and saying things to you. If it had not been for me being an extra in that movie, I don't know how I would have made it to help my families. So we even have where if you are a local business, you have a Buy Baton Rouge form you can fill out. We present those forms at no cost to every business person who wants to try to do something in the business industry. And therefore, at no cost, one guy last year, one person, a graphic artist, made $1 million. So we're out telling people the opportunities they have, telling the places from whether you're running a lumber company to some other store. Make sure you get in on the front side and begin to see what things that will be used in these productions, and therefore make sure the money is spread around and make sure that the local people benefit anyway. But cutting the tax breaks altogether would be a drastic mistake.
Thank you. Mr. Gilroy?
I support the film tax credits, not exactly as they are, but I'll say more about that. But I particularly like the fact that we're strengthening and creating a new industry in Louisiana. I was on a shooting site in Lafayette about a month ago. 175 people were working there. 3 of them were from outside of Louisiana. 172 Louisiana folks, 172 Louisiana families being fed from that. I support that industry, partly for the jobs, but also because it markets Louisiana. That movie will have scenes of Lafayette, scenes of the Atchafalaya Basin that will project to people around the world, and they will see it and they will want to go. I want to go and see that. So that marketing of Louisiana is important also. We need to cap per project, and we need to stop the corruption. We need to appoint an IG, an Inspector General, who will be able to monitor all of these film tax credits as they're going. And if you monitor it, keep the corruption out of it, and let it roll,
There you go. Mr. Young, television and film tax production credits.
I support the film industry in the state of Louisiana. In fact, I wrote an op-ed at the beginning of the session that you can go on my website and look at. Certainly we need accountability and transparency. We need to make sure we're getting our bang for our taxpayer dollar. It needs to be tweaked, but we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The movie industry was growing organically in the state of Louisiana. We at one time until recently were #1 in the world in film production. Canada was #2. We had done such a good job that the mayor of LA was calling together a tax incentive program to stop the exodus out of LA. I can tell you as I travel around the state, people are flocking to West Monroe to see the Duck Dynasty people and go to the Duck Commander warehouse. People are going to Pierre Park, Louisiana to try to find Troy or swamp people. I had lunch with the DA in Natchitoches a couple months ago. We weren't even talking about the film industry. I was there to go look at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and I said, what a great job y'all have done in revitalizing the area along the Cane River Lake. And he said, John, I attribute the revitalization of this area of Natchitoches to the fact that they filmed Steel Magnolias here 30 or 35 years ago, and people are still coming to Natchitoches to go and see the house where Steel Magnolias was filmed. This drives the tourism industry. Let me tell you what we do in Jefferson Parish. We have a tax credit, not a tax credit, we have a tax rebate, up to 3% that's funded out of an economic development village. You spend money in Jefferson Parish with a Jefferson Parish vendor, or you pay wages to a Jefferson Parish resident, you get up to a 3% rebate. In 2014, we spent or rebated, and it's reviewed by a panel of CPAs, $900,000. Not an insignificant amount for a parish government, but we got a $34 million spend. We can show it 34 to 1. I'm very bullish on the film industry, but again, we need to make sure we're getting our best bang for our buck. Good news is, I think the two sides of that issue are going to come back next time, and then we have an opportunity to fix it without chasing the film industry away. It's not just about New Orleans. Baton Rouge, Shreveport have movie studios, as well as St. Charles Parish.
Thank you. 2013, HotelPlanner.com was awarded the state contract mandating that all state agencies book their hotel rooms through this site. Although this decision was made as a cost-saving effort, there is worry that this is hurting the hotel business throughout the state. What are your thoughts on this state contract, and what changes, if any, would you recommend to a new administration for state agency hotel booking?
Well, as a fiscal conservative, I'm always looking for ways to save money, but not on the backs of Louisianians and not on the backs of Louisiana businesses. And I'm also firmly against mandates from the state government. I've been in local government for 12 years. Let's put the power back in local governments. Let's let the CBDs, the tourist commissions, the chambers of commerce handle that. They can best serve that purpose, and we can save money on top of it. And we don't want to, the hotels are already discounting for government rates. We don't want to put the hotels at a disadvantage. We need to protect our hotel industry. We need to give power back to the people in Louisiana. And I'm not against doing business with out-of-state companies as a general rule, but when you can do it locally and when you can do it within the state of Louisiana, I'm pro Louisiana.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nungesser.
Yeah, the 10% commission I know is cutting into the local tax base and hurting a lot of the hotel and motels around the state. Whether we could negotiate a lesser fee or come up with another plan. I know it has its benefits to have that booking agent, but what I would recommend is that we get together as a team and work on a solution that doesn't have a negative effect on any of the areas that we are the good sides of this, and we don't throw it all out and have nothing. But then maybe we can tweak it and come up with a lower rate that doesn't have such an impact on the hotels or the local tax base.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Holt.
Don't be so quick to make a judgment without looking at the consequences of your decision. Those consequences now, New Orleans is always going to be a white place because they have a lot of tourism. But the other towns and all of these other cities throughout Louisiana should have a role to play in making choices what is best for them in terms of getting more business there. Allow them the flexibility to work with the Lieutenant Governor's office. Allow them the flexibility to give business to a number of the small hotels in those cities. And allow them a chance to show you that they can also compete with the big boys. They can give a better product. They know the whole comfort industry in and out, and they are ready, willing, and prepared to show people that their quality of service is second to none, and at the same time, people will continue to save money.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gilbert.
This industry is like a large mosaic, a large puzzle with many, many parts, many, many working parts. This really is a partnership between all of us in this room, all of the working parts. And if government steps in, and I'm always suspicious when government steps in, when government steps in and makes a decision that hurts a part of the industry, what we have to do is sit around the table and work it out so that pain is not being felt. It's not rocket science, it's leadership. It's just taking the lead to say, wait a minute, this is not working well, so we need to have hotelplanner.com and our hotels sit and work out a way to do it. And I'm always suspicious of government when it steps in and starts to manage business.
Thank you, sir. As Lieutenant Governor, how will you manage the Office of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism? Please be specific about your management style.
Very much as I've talked about here, with years and years, decades and decades of experience in government management, it's a matter of organizing the operation, making sure that that operation is properly budgeted, properly funded, and then making sure that it's executed, that our plans are executed. That's it. Nothing more than that. Not rocket science.
Not complicated, right?
Not complicated.
Mr. Young?
Management.
There you go.
In a collaborative manner, we will operate the office in a partnership and have all the stakeholders at the table. I like to manage by trying to find a win-win situation, bring everybody to the table, have a discussion. As president of the second largest parish in the state of Louisiana, I have executive staff meetings on a regular basis. I don't want to be surrounded by yes people. I challenge my executive staff to challenge me on decisions I'm about to make. I've changed my mind a lot of times after those staff meetings. So I will work in a collaborative manner, on a partnership basis, in making sure that everyone who has a stake in the decision that's being made, the stakeholders, I get input from them so I can make an informed decision and move forward. And I will continue the progress that Jay Darden has made because unlike the situation I came into in Jefferson Parish, where our former parish president, former parish attorney, and former CAO all were indicted, ultimately pled guilty to the federal criminal charges. He has that office in good shape. It's running well, and all we need to do is look at keeping ahead of being proactive and making sure that we stay as focused as the office is now. And as time changes, we change with the office to better serve not only you, but the citizens of Louisiana and continue to grow to culture, recreation, and tourism in the greatest state in the United States of America.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nunn, yes, sir.
I will do much like I did in Plaquemines Parish. I will surround myself, and Jay's got a great team working with him. Of course, he becomes governor, we're going to lose some of those people, I'm sure. But I will surround myself with a team that has the same love and passion for tourism as you do in this room. I did that after I won parish president after Katrina. 5 hurricanes and an oil spill later, that team approach of listening to people. The people around the state have great ideas, promoting the horse industry, hunting and fishing statewide, special events all over the state. A lot of those ideas come from you. I think it's important that you have a seat at the table, you have open door policy, and that you bring everybody together to do what's best for Louisiana, the whole state. Thank you.
Mr. Hogan.
Basically the same way Jay operates his office, we operate our office. There are people that you will find in those offices who are very valuable in regards to the information that they can give you. They know things that you will have to learn. First, you're going to have to respect the talent that you have there. Don't go in and make wholesale firings. Talk to a lot of those key people one-on-one. Ask them what has worked, what hasn't worked, how we can improve. And then at the same time, hands-on does not mean that you know everything. Respect the brain power of those people who've been there and made a big difference in the quality of service being provided by that office. And then where you need to make the changes, you make the changes, but don't go in with the idea that you're the all-knowing and that type of person. You're a person willing to come in with an open mind, look at the great ideas, improve where you can, but not get to the point where you begin to question the mental ability of people who help to build the basic foundation in which we operate on in that office. Thank you.
As partners with the Office of Lieutenant Governor and the Office of Tourism, LTPA believes in the current leadership and direction of the Office of Tourism, as we've just talked about. We're seeing record numbers of visitors, including a nearly 20% increase in the international market alone. Are you considering any changes in the leadership and partnership? And if so, please be specific.
I'm not going to change. Jay has already given me about 15 cards of people he wants me to hold on to in the office. I will take this advice, begin to look at the people who are there, because really, you know, we have a great tourism office. They are in there fighting to help everybody they possibly can. You can't go in there and make wholesale firings and changes. And so therefore, you will take a look like we do in the mayor's office. We just went through another change, but we brought some people in because the people who were there were not doing the job adequately. But we made sure that we listened to people first and listened to the citizens and the groups responsible for this agency, who work along with the agency and see what suggestions they have. And then as a new team, not in terms of turning everybody out, but as a new team, you'll have new ideas. We'll work together to improve those ideas and make sure the ideas that are already working are not touched by me or anybody else in that office.
Outstanding. Mr. Guillory, this whole idea of the Office of Tourism, the partnership with the LTPA, your thoughts?
No changes. No changes. I would keep doing what works. I mean, it's working. I ran my first state agency when I was 29 years old in the state of Maryland. I have a track record. You can look back at that track record and see that I have a record of effective management. I will manage. I talked to you about upgrading our outreach to millennials. I would certainly do that. About injecting a little more passion, a little bit more excitement into our ads. I would do that. But by and large, I would continue to fill Jay's very large shoes.
There you go. Size 13, I think you said, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Young.
I'm governed and managed by the sophisticated Harvard Business School principle. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Obviously, Jay has put together a great staff. As I travel around the state and as I've been campaigning for Lieutenant Governor, I'm very impressed with the staff he's put together. They do a great job. They have passion. They work I'm also impressed by the partnership his office has with LTPA and with the Convention and Visitors Bureaus throughout the state of Louisiana, the tourist commissions, the chambers of commerce, and for that matter, local government. Sheriffs I've met have complimented Jay and his staff. So I have no reason to come in and do any significant or any changes to personnel. I would certainly get with Jay in transition and figure out how do we continue to keep that progress moving forward. How do we continue to spread that tourism dollar throughout the entire state of Louisiana to make sure every community gets their fair share of that tourism dollar? By increasing international travel to Louisiana, where people stay an average of 10 to 14 days, that gives us an option to get people around the state. Viking River Cruises is going to give us another option. But to answer your question, no, I don't think there's any reason to make any changes to the office. And I think Jay and his staff have done a great job. I'll meet with them after the election to figure out how we make a successful, swift transition. I look forward to working with each and every one of you to make our great state an even better place to live, work, raise a family, visit, and retire.
There you go. Mr. Nungesser.
Jay has done a great job. And just like each one of you, whether you're in state parks, whether you're in a hotel, y'all have so much love and passion for what you do. You don't do it for the money, as no one does in this industry. And Kyle has that same love and passion, and it echoes out in everybody in Jay's staff. Everyone I've met has that same love and passion for this state. It should make it easy for us to go with the great numbers we produce, to go to Baton Rouge and get more money and increase that international travel. The relationship between this group and the Lieutenant Governor's office, to the best of my understanding, has been magnificent. I would not change a thing, and hopefully, if Jay wins governor, we're going to do battle to keep as many people as we can working for the Lieutenant Governor.
There is no question that the city of New Orleans is the tourism gateway for the rest of the state. As Lieutenant Governor, how do you recommend the industry use New Orleans as a launching pad for marketing the entire state?
Well, we've got to get New Orleans a little bit more engaged in saying visit other areas of the state. I was involved in the International Rotary Convention there, and we had Rotarians from all over the state serving their food. And they were passionate about telling people from all over the world, come to Ruston, come to Lake Charles, let me show you what we have there. We've got to find a way to get that energy when all these conventions are coming to New Orleans, so people, if they don't have time to come on that trip, they come back and visit the rest of the state. But we also have to make sure New Orleans puts their best foot forward. You know, I talk to the cab drivers, and as they bring people back to the airport, you would think crime was the #1 problem. Most of them tell me the elderly people say they're not coming back to New Orleans because they're all banged up. They can't walk down the sidewalks without falling and beating themselves up. Crime is a problem. We've got to help them fix that. We've got to embarrass the lawyers and judges that keep letting the same people out of jail over and over again to stop it. We've got to help them. But by putting that team effort together, we can fix all the things in the state, couple it with fixing the sidewalks in New Orleans, helping them with their crime problems so they put their best foot forward, and we demand that they sell the rest of the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holden, the City of New Orleans as a launching pad to market the rest of the state.
It's a great idea. New Orleans has a lot of advantages that can help any size city. Let me again talk about one of Jay's ideas with the museum there. The Napoleon Mask was about to be put away in the storage point. But through the dialogue between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, that became a centerpiece in Baton Rouge that drew hundreds of people to see what New Orleans has. Why not taking that partnership to enhance your particular town or village and make it even better? The World War II Museum, one of the best sites anybody would like to see. Why not making that partnership with the World War II Museum and let them see other parts of these great cities and this great state, and let them be the guests who help to sponsor, not financially, but to bring veterans in from all parts of the community, to let them feel the pride that you'll see when you see the pictures that's out there that's bringing people into town. It's a partnership made for all of us, but we would depend on the LTPA and its membership roles to make sure that everybody is involved in the process and making it better.
Mr. Gilbert.
Of course, there must be a greater balance between the marketing of New Orleans and the marketing of the rest of the state, so that the rest of the state is not dependent upon New Orleans as its gateway. Second, when there is an event in New Orleans, we need to, this mosaic partnership that I'm talking about, we need to market the rest of Louisiana there in New Orleans. We should have buses and vans, ready tours, ready to leave from New Orleans and go to the pine forest in North Louisiana, ready to go to the Atchafalaya Basin. That is going to be important, using those two things. But primarily, the rest of the state should not have to sit and wait for the crumbs that come from New Orleans. We should market the rest of the state. As I said, I'm from Opelousas, accustomed to being left out. No place should be left out anymore.
Thank you. Mr. Young.
Yes, we should use New Orleans as a gateway. New Orleans is the magnet that draws people to the state of Louisiana. But at the same time, Louisiana is much bigger than New Orleans. New Orleans has to realize that there has to be a balance. We need to create the Louisiana experience. The way we can do that is certainly New Orleans brings most of our international travelers. With more international flights coming in and out of New Orleans International Airport, that gives us a great opportunity to market the rest of the state. Poverty Point. You can go fishing off the coast of Grand Isle, you can go fishing in Toledo Bend. You can go to Mardi Gras New Orleans, you can go to Mardi Gras in Southwest Louisiana and have an entirely different experience. We need to spread that word. You can go to Poverty Point, kudos to Jay and his staff, World Heritage Designated Site. That's going to bring another 10,000 people to Northeast Louisiana. The infrastructure needs to catch up. And speaking of infrastructure, I'm not running for governor, but we need to work with the governor and legislature to make sure we get better roads in the state of Louisiana. How are we going to move people? How are we going to move people around the state? I'm traveling the state. Let me tell you, I'm getting whiplash just from driving. Nobody's hitting me. We have terrible roads in the state of Louisiana. We complete I-49 to be able to move people around the state of Louisiana. But I will tell you this, and I've mentioned it before, and I'm very passionate about this. As a former assistant DA and prosecutor, if we don't get crime under control in New Orleans, we're going to kill a goose that laid the golden egg, and we're not going to have that magnet to draw people here. We need to make sure that everybody's safe in all of our communities, because if we don't have public safety, we can't build a vibrant and vital economy, and we can't attract visitors and retirees to the state of Louisiana.
If you look at my face, you see the face of Louisiana. This is the face of the Cherokee, the face of the Cajun, the face of slaves, and the face of slave owners. I relate to all aspects of Louisiana. I am passionate about it, and I can sell all aspects of Louisiana's culture. I am pro-God, pro-country, pro-life, and pro-gun. Some people say that I'm a conservative. I am just a basic American as I see it. No one has traveled more than I have. No one has been to more countries more than I have. All over the Middle East, all over China, all over Europe, South America. My asset as a traveler will certainly help Louisiana, help me be Louisiana's ambassador to the world. Finally, there's a video that has had some controversy recently. You may see it now on YouTube, elbertguillory.com, or on my Facebook. Some people standing here have been asked about that, and without having seen it, have made some scurrilous statements about it. For those, I would say, be careful. If you want to get dirty, I'll get dirty with you. For those others, I respect the fact that you have taken the high road, and I will continue to travel that high road with you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hogan.
Yes, sir. I will continue to be the person that I've been all my life. Let me tell you this. As mayor president of Baton Rouge, I've traveled the country and even the world. I developed a network of international contacts through governments and global industries. Basically, we've been selling our city and selling the state. I take pride in them to brag about the people, not only in Baton Rouge, but the people in Louisiana. Together we can recruit new opportunities and businesses for our state and our local communities to improve the local economies and all of our cities. For many years, I maintained a law office in the Fontaine House in downtown Baton Rouge. In that house, Doralice Fontaine wrote our first state song, Give Me Louisiana. She used her talent to tell the world about the beauty and uniqueness of the state where she was born, and through her lyrics, people around the world celebrated Louisiana. Our woodlands and wetlands, our rich heritage, our food, music, and hospitality, natural resources are unrivaled. All the things that make Louisiana great, as her song says, the greatest of all states. She loved Louisiana. She wanted others also to do so as well. I feel that way too. To me, this job is not a stepping stone. It's an opportunity to lift up every corner of our state and the world and say, in Louisiana, tomorrow will be great. Come and join us. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. In fact, I can't wait, because seeing this group over the past few days, I thank God for the talent that He's allowed Louisiana to be blessed with, and the Lieutenant Governor who set the stage and made the mark for all of us to shoot for and exceed. God bless each and every one.
Mr. Nunn, yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for what you do. I'd like to use my first part of this to tell you a little bit about me. I didn't set out to become a politician. I built a business out of an old shipping container in Broussard, Louisiana, and Bellchase, living quarters for the oil field. My dad laughed at me and said, "Nobody's going to live in those things, son. They've been around for 100 years. Somebody would have thought of that." I built that company up and took it public, and me and my wife retired down in Plaquemines Parish and built a center for disabled children, Point Celeste Therapeutic Riding Facility, taking children out of wheelchairs, putting on the back of a horse. Greatest thing I've ever done. With Katrina approaching, we had over 200 kids and adults, 7 days a week, that enjoyed riding the back of a horse. We rode out Katrina, not a very smart move, but thank God we did to save those animals. We rescued 30 people that lived with me for months I didn't even know, and animals for months after that. I never saw an elected official. A lot of volunteers, pastors, teachers, firefighters, and police officers came back in to help, and I got angry and ran for office. 8 years as parish president, 5 hurricanes, 3 that flooded my parish, and 33% of the oil for the whole Gulf Coast. $2 billion in levee improvements, a bypass road, great job opportunities, and a surplus every year I was parish president. I learned if you get up every day and work hard and do everything physically possible you can to help your community, you should succeed. There's no great thing in this country ever been achieved without passion. I have that passion and love for Louisiana. I hope you'll consider me for your next lieutenant governor. Thanks, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Young.
I want to thank the LTPA and each and every one of you for putting this luncheon on today. I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do day in and day out in the state of Louisiana. It's because of you that the tourism industry is an $11.2 billion industry. It's because of you that 223,000 Louisianians have a job in the tourism industry. It's because of you that 28.7 million people came to the state of Louisiana in 2014. And it's because of you that we have $836 million that we don't have to collect from our own citizens, but we have $836 million we can use to provide necessary goods and services to our citizens. Thank you for what you do day in and day out. I have always had an affinity for an attraction to the tourism and hospitality industry. I've worked as a fry cook, a busboy, a dishwasher, a waiter, and a bartender. I worked my way through school. I was a lawyer in private practice, a small business owner, an assistant DA, a councilman at large for 2 terms, and presently am the parish president of Jefferson Parish. And I'm not term limited. I gave up an easy re-election to run for lieutenant governor for the state of Louisiana, and I'll be making less money as lieutenant governor than I do as a president of Jefferson Parish. But I'm running for this job because I want to do this job. I want to work with you to make our great state an even better place to live, work, raise a family, visit, and retire. And I know we have a great team. I want to work together as a team. Louisiana is a great state. We are blessed to live in the greatest state in the United States of America, but we haven't reached our full potential. I firmly believe that our best days are ahead of us, not behind us. And remember this, the lieutenant governor is the ambassador for the state of Louisiana, the face of Louisiana, the #1 salesman for the state of Louisiana, 1 heartbeat away from the governor. Well, I ask humbly for your vote support in this election. May God continue to bless you and your families. May God continue to bless the great state of Louisiana. And may God continue to bless the greatest country on earth, the United States of America. Thank you very much.